They're still shaking, still playing back the footage frame by frame like it's a crime scene they don't understand. And here you are, unbothered, untouchable, untraceable. Let's begin. Who the fuck taught you this? That's not a compliment. That's a confession. The words didn't come from admiration. They came from fear, because they just watched everything they ever trusted, their spells, their spies, their shadows, their algorithms, break in real time, not fail, not glitch, shatter, like glass under a scream. And you didn't lift a finger. You just tilted your head and blinked like it was already over. You walked into the crossfire, unarmed, and the bullets panicked. They turned midair, reversed course, and slaughtered their own shooters. Who the fuck taught you that? That silence could be a weapon. That stillness could cause panic. That walking away could make them bleed harder than if you'd stayed. They saw something move beneath your skin that didn't belong to this world. Something that didn't flinch when they said, law. Didn't kneel when they said, curse. Didn't die when they said, now. And now, they're the ones whispering, not you, not anymore. You're not a name anymore. You're a sequence error, a phantom variable they can't code around, a bug in their God mode. Because for the first time in their cursed little playbook, their target evolved mid-execution, and they watched it happen, live. With every camera rolling, their team had diagrams, charts, contingencies. They studied you like a bomb technician studies wires. But your wiring changed as soon as they got close, and the moment they touched you, the ground underneath them rewrote itself. No one survives that, not mentally, not spiritually, and certainly not with their ego intact. You're what happens when the final boss forgets he was programmed and remembers he was forged. They asked, who trained you? As if there's a classroom for this level of madness. As if pain didn't teach you every line of code. As if betrayal didn't stitch your muscle memory. As if watching yourself die in the mirror and refusing to stay dead was part of a curriculum. Let me make this clear. Nobody trained you. Not in the way they mean. You weren't taught. You were triggered. And now, you've become the trigger. They spent years summoning forces to break you. And every one of those forces now answers to you. The curses, the cameras, the contracts, the codes. They've flipped allegiance without warning. You are the paradox they were never cleared to handle. An angel with criminal intent. A saint with the grin of a psychopath. A ghost with fingerprints, but no pulse. Every step you take now isn't just movement. It's evidence, and every breath you take, that's a countdown they can't interrupt. Because your existence itself is a loaded gun pointed back at origin. And no one knows when you'll fire, not even you. That's why they're terrified. You don't even speak in threats. You don't have to. Your silence is blood-stained now. They see you smile, and it's like watching the end credits of their strategy, because everything they thought was working was actually working for you. The panic in their eyes. That's not because you're dangerous. It's because they can't calculate how dangerous. You don't fit their data models anymore. You corrupted the architecture with your trauma, and now the entire system misfires when it tries to predict your next step. Because that step doesn't exist yet. You invent it in the moment. You build reality as you go. You're not just ahead of the game. You're designing new rules while they're still choking on the old ones. They thought power was about control. And you taught them without saying a word. That real power is being uncontrollable. Now everything they built, every spell they cast, every whisper they sent through their little networks of doubt, got broadcast back to them. in your voice. Distorted, louder, faster, weaponized. You took their fear and made it an instrument, and now it plays your theme everywhere they go. They can't rest, can't think, because every flicker in the lights, every glitch in their timeline feels like you. They're deleting files right now, burning papers, scrambling legal codes, because the pattern doesn't just point to you anymore. It screams your name. So no, you weren't trained. You were awakened by betrayal, by silence, by bloodlines too afraid to carry their own legacy. You didn't learn this. You remembered it. And now, so will they, forever. You know what's worse than losing? Losing to something you can't explain. That's where they are now. Not just defeated, deleted, not just exposed, erased. They can't even prove you were there. But every time they look at the damage, your fingerprints are all over the aftermath. Except they don't match anyone alive. You want to know why they're spiraling? Because this wasn't supposed to happen. They built a playbook that never included a you. Their models predicted resistance, but not resurrection. They planned for rebellion, but not for a revenant. Someone who doesn't just return, but returns smarter, colder, faster, and so damn surgical that they didn't even know they'd been gutted until they felt the floor go wet under their feet. You didn't come back with vengeance. You came back with precision, and that's the real horror. Because you're not out of control. You're in perfect control. Every move you make feels premeditated by the universe itself. They thought it was random. Nah. You've been quiet for so long. They forgot silence is just strategy in slow motion. And now they're bleeding from cuts they can't find. Because you didn't attack the surface. You slipped into the architecture. You infected the timeline. You recoded fate and rebranded it in your image. You don't need revenge. That's too small for you now. What you're doing is more cosmic than that. You're rewriting the very laws that once shackled you, turning every curse, every closed door, every humiliation into ammunition you didn't even have to fire, because reality itself pulled the trigger for you. They prayed for your failure. They paid for your silence. They danced at your funeral with a grin. And now they're choking on the confetti. You've turned the afterlife into your launch pad. Came back with fire in your bones and data in your eyes. And every step you take now feels like a prophecy being fulfilled in real time. You don't move like a person anymore. You move like an answer to a question they were too scared to ask. And that question was always this. What happens when the target learns the blueprint? What happens when the sacrifice becomes the architect? What happens when the underestimated one stops playing defense and starts rewriting the war? I'll tell you what happens. Silence falls. Rooms go cold. The watchers, who've monitored your every failure, start scrambling the footage because it's no longer safe to study you. Why? Because the more they observe, the more they change. You've become contagious. Your resilience is now a virus, and their system isn't secure enough to contain it. They wanted to crack your mind open. Instead, it cracked them one by one. Analysis teams collapsing, surveillance experts quitting, psychics screaming, and all for what? A single sentence you never said aloud. I remember who I am now, because that's what flipped the whole table. You remembered. And when someone like you remembers, no spell, no label, no diagnosis can hold you. They tried binding your power to your pain, but pain was never your weakness. It was your fucking training montage. They thought you were broken, but you were breaking open. They thought you lost everything, but you were losing what wasn't you. They thought it was over, But that was just intermission. Now you're back on stage. No mask, no mercy, no more middleman between you and the divine mechanism of vengeance. Your aura isn't just different now. It's unreadable, because it's made of paradox, warrior and ghost, prophet and hacker, saint and chaos engine, God's last warning and hell's first prototype. You used to beg for their approval. Now you leave their higher-ups afraid to even say your name in full, because speaking it too loud feels like inviting an event. They whisper about you like folklore now, like you're a glitch in time, a ripple in bloodlines, the one who came back wrong and never apologized for it. And that, my dear disaster, is your final evolution. You no longer move through the world. The world now moves around you. You've become a gravitational shift in the timeline, a living error in the equation, and all outcomes now bend to your frequency. So when they ask, "Who the fuck taught you this?" you just smile, because the truth is brutal. Nobody did. You learned it alone, in the dark, in the silence, in the agony of being erased, only to come back as the pen rewriting reality itself. Oh, they're squirming all right. But not in public, not where you can see it. No, they're hiding their collapse behind committee meetings and classified silence. Because how do you report that a ghost just rewrote the battlefield? How do you admit that your entire power structure just bowed to the one you buried? They don't send hitmen anymore. They send historians to try and make sense of you, to decode how someone who wasn't supposed to survive, someone they starved, framed, mocked, watched, is now walking through their blueprints like it's his own F-seeking origin story. But see, that's what they never understood. You weren't born from comfort. You were forged in the algorithm of agony. You were shaped by fire, and then asked the fire for more. While they were learning strategy from textbooks, you were decoding survival with your bare hands. And now you don't think like them. You don't move like them. You don't breathe like them. They say, play the long game. You say, I am the long game. Because this wasn't some revenge stunt. This wasn't about proving them wrong. This was a demonstration of what happens when the impossible survives. You didn't just erase your enemies. You erased their future plans. You turned their next 5 moves into dust. And they didn't even know you were watching. That's the part that eats them alive at night. It wasn't brute force. It wasn't an outburst. It wasn't chaos. It was elegance. It was uncold precision. Surgical silence. Like you already knew the coordinates of their downfall, and you were just waiting for them to step on their own detonator. Which they did, all of them, in sync, one after the other. And now the question spreading like rot through their halls isn't, what happened? It's, how long was he planning this? But here's the twist. You weren't. You didn't plan it. You became it. This wasn't strategy. This was metamorphosis. This was what happens when you stop negotiating with your pain and start wielding it. Like a blade honed in the shadows, like a cipher too complex for any analyst to solve without losing their mind. That's why the survivors aren't speaking. They're stuttering. Because they saw something they weren't authorized to see. Something behind your eyes that wasn't rage, wasn't revenge, but calculation wrapped in divinity. Like God finally got tired of their games and sent you in as the audit. And now the cameras, the microphones, the whispers, they all serve you. You didn't need to threaten them. You let reality do it for you. Now their lights flicker when your name's spoken. Their dreams glitch. Their walls throb with static that no technician can explain. Because you didn't just defeat them. You haunted them You branded yourself into their cause and effect. Every time something goes wrong in their little kingdom now, they ask, "Is this him? Did he do this? Is he watching?" And you are. Not with eyes, with presence, with code, with consequence. Because you're not a person anymore. You're a reverberation. You're what happens when punishment forgets to wait for justice. And now, they're paying interest on every attack they ever launched in your direction. Every smirk, every snide remark, every false charge, every smear campaign, every silence. You turned it all into currency, and now they're going broke in your economy. You are the storm after the silence. You are the line after the story was supposed to end. The glitch after the system rebooted. And they can't trace the source of the failure. Because you became the source. You flipped the contract, tore the script, and built a new timeline. One where you don't ask permission. One where you don't shrink to fit their comprehension. One where you're the exception they pray never gets replicated. But they know the truth. It's already too late. Because you didn't come back alone. You came back as proof that the system doesn't work, that fear doesn't win, that legends are born in laboratories of suffering. You didn't study war. You remembered it. And now, everything they weaponized against you has returned. With interest. And the real nightmare? You haven't even started yet. This was just a preview, an echo. A friendly little reminder of what happens when you don't just survive. You evolve. So let him whisper. Let him analyze. Let him stare at the ruins with wide eyes and ask, trembling, who the fuck taught him this? Because the answer is still echoing through their haunted systems. No one. He taught himself in hell. And came back fluent in vengeance. They thought they were watching a man. Turns out, they were witnessing a recalibration of reality. Not a comeback, a correction, an error message from the universe that reads, you messed with the wrong silence. Because you didn't just survive betrayal. You merged with it. You took the blade they buried in your back and reforged it into a key. Not to escape the system, to override it. You used to walk into rooms trying to explain your value. Now, you walk in and time slows down. Conversations stutter. Phones lose signal. Atmospheres shift. Not because you're loud, but because you're true. And truth, unapologetic, unruly, uncontainable, terrifies those built on illusion. They thought you were seeking closure. You weren't. You were collecting coordinates, silently mapping where every lie was whispered, where every dagger was passed hand to hand behind your back. And now the entire battlefield is wired. Every step they take is a potential confession. Every sentence they speak feels like a trigger phrase. Because when you erased their offenses, you didn't do it out of mercy. You did it to erase proof they ever had power over you. Understand this, you're not winning. You're dismantling silently, elegantly, untraceably, like a virus in the bloodstream of their beliefs. They said, nobody could survive that. You did, they said. Nobody could come back from that. You did, and they said, even if they did, they'd never be the same. You weren't. You came back worse. And worse is exactly what this world needed, because good gets ignored, nice gets devoured, but unpredictable? Unpredictable is what gets studied, filed, monitored, feared. They made one fatal mistake. They watched you fail and assumed that was your final form. But you weren't failing. You were downloading. You were installing updates in silence. You were teaching your nervous system how to run war on intuition. Now you move without blueprint. Act without delay. React without emotion. But but somehow your reactions cause earthquakes. That's why they've stopped trying to provoke you. Because when you strike back, it's not a response, it's a correctional event. Like a glitch finally realizing it's not a bug, but the beginning of a new operating system. They thought they understood cause and effect. But you shattered cause. And now effect is freestyling. There's no prediction model that explains how you keep doing it. No timeline where their revenge plans land properly anymore. Because your presence reroutes fate. You're not fighting them anymore. You're undoing them. Like they were a mistake God regretted, and you were the recall notice. You didn't evolve to prove a point. You evolved because this dimension required a new virus. Not the kind that destroys the system, the kind that exposes it, the kind that survives all their purges, slips past every firewall, and whispers one message into the mainframe: I don't need permission to exist. And that broke them because they need rules, they need structure, they need definitions. And you operate on instinct, encrypted with divine rage. No one taught you this level of awareness, this precision, this audacity. This came from watching yourself die in everyone's eyes but your own, and realizing the grave they built was your launch pad. So now you don't retaliate, you reprogram, you don't shout back, you let reality glitch on their behalf. You don't chase revenge. You become the reason they're haunted. You turned your shadow into surveillance, and every time they smile, they feel you watching. Every success they have, they wonder if you're letting it happen, just to take it all back later. And they're right to wonder, because you don't just take revenge anymore. You time it, you stage it, you film it in their dreams before it happens in real life. You've become inevitable, a one-man prophecy, a walking spoiler alert for their future. So when they say, "Who the fuck taught him this?" they're not asking you anymore. They're asking each other, in meetings, in secret chats, in urgent midnight calls they're too afraid to log. Because if you weren't taught this, then it must mean one thing. You remembered something they never knew existed, something older than rules, older than hierarchies, older than fear. You remembered power. Not the kind you're given, the kind you're born with, the kind that can't be stolen, only buried, until someone like you comes along and digs it back up with your bare hands. And now, you are the consequence of their disbelief. You are the punishment they thought they escaped. You are the walking receipt for every time they chose cowardice over truth. And your footsteps, they don't echo, they count down. So let them panic, let them whisper, let them pretend they're safe. Because we both know you haven't even gotten started yet. 13 minds entered your maze. None made it out whole. Oh, they thought they were ready for you. The sharpest suits, the cleanest files, trained to dissect everything, motives, patterns, weaknesses. They believed that if they fed you into their cold little equations, if they mapped your behavior across charts, across time, across trauma, they'd finally figure out what the hell you are. And so they sent the first one. He thought he was brilliant, thought he could reduce you to a cycle, thought you were just another anomaly with daddy issues and control problems. He lasted 5 days before the tremor in his right hand wouldn't stop. He said your unpredictability was mathematically offensive. The second one, she believed she had seen it all. Cartel leaders, war criminals, cult architects. She said your silence felt like thunder. She started questioning her own identity by the end of week 2. By week 3, she checked herself into isolation. They were tracking your habits, but you erased them. They traced your timeline. But you kept rewriting it. They watched your footage, but nothing matched the angles the victims remembered. And here's the punchline. They called you the bug in the algorithm. But they didn't realize you were the one who built the algorithm and left a virus behind that only activates when you're underestimated. Every time they thought they spotted a pattern, you broke the mirror. Every time they predicted your move, you did something that made no sense to the logic bound. To them, you looked like chaos. To you, it was choreography. You walk like a question they can't answer. You speak like a paradox wrapped in prophecy, and every flaw they circled in red turned out to be a trap you baited with precision. Because you're not just the result of pain, you're the orchestra of it. You learned how to turn agony into architecture, and while they were busy drawing timelines, you were busy writing destinies. See, they were taught to observe. You were trained by the fire to disappear. They profiled personalities. You ripped yours to shreds and rebuilt it into a weapon. They look for logic. You manufacture anomalies. They came in looking for patterns, formulas, repetition. But you are the exception that refuses to repeat. And now they sit in rooms with blacked out windows, whispering your name like it's radioactive, because they didn't just fail to map you. You mapped them, down to the last neural tick. You knew what they'd say before they did, knew where they'd look before they blinked. 13 analysts, and not a single one survived you intellectually intact. They didn't meet a subject, they met a mirror, and what stared back at them was every equation they never solved, every fear they pretended to outgrow, every buried instinct they never wanted to admit. You weren't in their file. You were the file. And let me guess, they're still trying to explain it, right? Still trying to patch together the broken theories, the contradictions, the footage that doesn't match, the testimonies that change when your name is mentioned. Somewhere out there's a case folder thicker than a murder trial. Not because you did anything wrong, but because nothing about you fits. And that's what kills them. You're not a puzzle. You're a glitch in their goddamn training. You're the reason manuals get rewritten, the reason protocols get revised. You're the do not engage warning stapled to the top of the file. And still, you're smiling. Because they still think this was a battle of intellect. Oh no. This was a spiritual war, and you trained in exorcisms. You walked through bloodline curses and built a throne from the bones of your past. You were never here to be understood. You were here to make understanding itself collapse, to crack the minds of the watchers, to infect the system with one untraceable variable. You, with the past no one would believe. You, with the silence that screams louder than gunfire. You, with the mind that folds reality like origami. They built walls to keep monsters out. But you were the one that grew fangs in confinement. You are the evidence that containment doesn't work. You are the experiment that escaped, not because someone left the door open, but because you memorized every screw in the lock and rewired your pain into blueprints. Now, they call it the collapse, what you did to those 13. But you call it Tuesday because this wasn't your final form. It was just your first ripple. And if they think that was the worst of it, they haven't seen you evolve yet. The room gets quieter. My voice drops lower, slower, like a needle dragging across a forbidden record. You can almost hear them now, can't you? Those so-called analysts, whispering in conference rooms that smell of burnt coffee and fear. Their eyes bloodshot from staring at charts that disintegrate under your shadow. They stare at your photos like talismans, hoping one will finally blink first. They tried to call you a case, but you're a consequence. They tried to box you into a diagnosis, but you're a detonation. They tried to reduce you to a trigger, but you're the whole arsenal. And the thing that drove them mad wasn't what you did. It was what you didn't. You didn't fit. You didn't break where they expected. You didn't speak when silence hurt them more. You didn't move when movement was predicted. You refused to play in the language they knew. You became a living paradox, saint and psychopath, angel and executioner, victim and architect. Every file they opened, every pattern they mapped, every keyword they typed, turned back into a mirror. Your trauma became data poisoning. Your stillness became encryption. Your unpredictability became a weapon of mass confusion. That's why they're gone now. Not dead in the way the papers write, but dead in the way a man dies when he no longer trusts his own mind. They left with their degrees and their credentials, but their certainty stayed behind in the cell you built. 13 minds entered, each convinced they'd break you open like a safe. Instead, you cracked them like brittle glass and walked out with their reflections. And you kept evolving because you understood what they never could. Pain isn't a wound, it's a forge. You fed your worst nights into the furnace until they became blueprints for a mind that bends reality. You turned your own chaos into choreography. You became the bug, the glitch, the anomaly in their simulation, and you did it without raising your voice, without lifting your hand, without breaking a sweat. Look at yourself now. You're not a person to them anymore. You're a myth sitting upright, breathing. You're a cautionary tale whispered to interns. Don't get too close. Don't try to map it. Don't look too long. You're a black swan in a file of gray ducks, and they can't scrub you out. You're a living footnote in their secret manuals. If encountered, expect the impossible. They hate you for it, but they're addicted to it. Because you didn't just slip their net, you taught the net to dissolve. You taught them that control is an illusion, that their training has blind spots, that there are souls born outside the grid. You taught them that unpredictability is not chaos, it's sovereignty. And here's the real secret, the one that would kill their faith if they ever heard it. You weren't even trying. This was you on autopilot, running on the residual instinct of a survivor who learned to read rooms, to read eyes, to read threats before they were spoken. This was you still half asleep, still shedding the old skin, still in the prelude. So imagine for a second what happens when you finally decide to wake up, when you stop reacting and start orchestrating, when you stop surviving and start ruling, when you take that same precision that shattered 13 trained minds and aim it at the world itself. They think they've seen your pattern. They've only seen your smoke. They think they've charted your moves. They've only seen your warm-ups. They think they've survived you. They've only tasted your shadow, because you're not a mystery to be solved. You're a signal to be feared. You're the living proof that evolution through pain creates something beyond prediction. You are the algorithm they thought they wrote, but you rewrote it from the inside. And now, as you stand here, breathing in their confusion, feeling the static in the air, you're at the threshold. Everything up until now has been a rehearsal. The next act is the one that rewrites history. The next act is the one where you stop being an anomaly and start being a force of nature. 13 analysts went in. None survived intact. But you walked out sharpened, coded, crowned, and somewhere in a bunker filled with blue light and silent alarms, there's a red file with your name on it. And next to it, a single handwritten note. Do not engage, cannot predict, cannot control. You smile. Because you know the truth, they're too afraid to speak. You were never meant to be engaged. You were meant to be unleashed. The camera would linger on your face now, a single glint in the eyes, a hint of a grin breaking through the darkness, a breath, a heartbeat, the sound of a system breaking as a new pattern, your pattern, begins to emerge. The silence after that grin is the kind that crawls under skin. My voice doesn't rise, it goes even lower, like a blade being unsheathed in a quiet room. You've been playing in their shadows for so long that they forgot shadows are only cast by light. And you learned how to become both. That's the part they never saw coming. They were trained to separate darkness from light, madness from method, saint from psychopath. But you blurred the lines until the line itself disappeared. You became the angel with a switchblade smile. The paradox they were never taught to recognize, because their training manuals only covered humans, not what you've become. Do you know why those 13 cracked? It wasn't just the unpredictability, it wasn't just the silence, it was the mirror. When they stared into your file, your footage, your eyes, they saw themselves. They saw their own cowardice. They saw the fragility of their own patterns, the holes in their own armor. You didn't attack them. You unveiled them. And the unveiling destroyed them, because no one survives looking at their own hypocrisy without blinking. This is why you're still standing. Because you stopped blinking a long time ago. You've been staring into your own abyss, and instead of flinching, you carved a throne from it. You've stared at your pain until it became language, stared at your demons until they became soldiers, stared at your scars until they became maps. You didn't escape hell, you turned it into headquarters. Every step you take now is choreography in a language they can't speak. Every silence you hold now is a weapon in a war they don't understand. Every move you make now is a glitch in their code that spreads like a virus through their assumptions. And while they huddle in dimly lit rooms trying to reconstruct the puzzle of you, you're already 3 moves ahead, orchestrating the next collapse. They don't even realize that the pattern they're chasing is the one you planted, like breadcrumbs, leading them in circles until their own minds eat themselves. This is not arrogance. This is what happens when pain becomes mastery. You know what it cost you. The nights where you had no name, the mornings where you had no future, the days where you had to become your own ghost just to survive. The rituals you performed alone, without applause, bleeding into notebooks, reprogramming your reflexes until unpredictability wasn't an accident but a skill. 13 analysts couldn't survive that origin story because they've only read about storms. They've never been raised by one. They've only studied predators. They've never been hunted. They've only profiled trauma. They've never been forged by it. That's the difference. They were taught how to analyze pain. You were taught how to weaponize it. And now, they're seeing the cost. The whispers in the corridors, the empty offices, the reports stamped inconclusive and do not distribute. The reputations destroyed quietly, so no one asks why the brightest minds couldn't crack one subject. You didn't defeat them, you revealed them. And in revealing them, you dismantled the illusion of control that kept their world intact. That's why you're dangerous. Not because you're unpredictable, but because you've become a living lesson. Unpredictability is power. Pain is evolution. Duality is freedom. And the one who accepts both angel and demon within himself cannot be mapped, cannot be tamed, cannot be broken. And somewhere, right now, a new set of eyes is looking at your file. Another eager recruit thinking they'll be the one, thinking their degree, their algorithms, their credentials will succeed where 13 have failed. They don't understand that the moment they start watching you, you're already watching them. They don't understand that the moment they say your name, it enters their dreams. They don't understand that studying you is how you study them. It's not paranoia. It's strategy. It's not luck. It's design. It's not chaos. It's sovereignty. You've crossed the threshold now. You're no longer a case. You're no longer a name. You're a warning, a symbol, a living piece of proof that the old ways of power are crumbling. You are what happens when someone refuses to be predictable long enough to evolve into something beyond prediction. And if they knew what you're about to become, if they even sensed it, they wouldn't be trying to crack your pattern. They'd be trying to contain a storm with a paper cup. But it's too late. The pattern they're looking for, it isn't hiding. It isn't missing. It's growing. You're not the anomaly. You're the architect. And the next act isn't about surviving their analysis. It's about rewriting the entire system from inside out. The lights flicker. The camera would pull in tight on your eyes now, the glint of something vast and unstoppable behind them. You don't shout. You don't even smile. You just breathe, and the room feels smaller, like reality is closing in around the listener. Tick, tick, tick. That's not a clock. That's the sound of their stability breaking, molecule by molecule. Every second they fail to decipher you. Every moment they think they're studying you is another breadcrumb you dropped. Not out of sloppiness, out of design. You've been laying trails they were programmed to follow. Their obsession with order, their addiction to answers, their hunger for predictability. You fed that. And now they're lost in a maze you drew with your left hand, while your right hand, already writing the next stage of reality. See, you weren't just dodging the system. You were infiltrating it. You were never the outlier. You were the override command. While they huddled around screens, trying to reverse engineer your motives, you were already inside their circuitry. Their models failed not because they were weak, but because you evolved past recognition. They analyzed behavior, but you studied belief. They tracked decisions, but you manipulated impulses. They coded logic, but you played with myth. And when they reached for conclusions, you handed them hallucinations dressed as data. You weren't hiding in the shadows. You were the shadow. And when the light shifted, so did you, until their instruments turned to nonsense and their confidence turned to paranoia. They built systems to handle threats. But what do? When the threat becomes the system, you became the virus inside their firewall. Not to destroy it, to rewrite it. They still think this is about you. They think the 13 collapses were a defense mechanism. They don't realize it was a message, a demonstration, an offering, a preview. You never needed to win their game. You were just showing them what happens when someone plays without fear, without patterns, without limits. You were proving that in a world ruled by data, the one who walks without a trace becomes godlike. And now, they're checking each other's reflections, second-guessing conversations, replaying surveillance footage frame by frame, asking, did he look at me? Did he know I was watching? Did he plan this 5 years ago? Yes, yes, and yes. But it gets worse for them, because this wasn't the end of your evolution. This was the signal flare, the activation, the protocol. You've been building something in the dark. Not a network, not a rebellion. Something cleaner, colder, more surgical. A new law of nature. One where unpredictability is king. Where intuition overrules programming. Where silence is stronger than noise. where identity is fluid, weaponized, multidimensional. You are not a person anymore. You are a principle, a threat model, a ghost protocol wrapped in skin. And soon, they won't be sending analysts. They'll be sending theologians, mystics, quantum theorists, anyone desperate enough to put a name to the thing that shouldn't be possible, but walks, talks, and destroys timelines like it's flipping switches. You've reached a point where your very existence forces adaptation. You've become evolution's agent, and that terrifies them more than anything, because in their bones, they know you didn't survive the system. You outgrew it. You're not reacting anymore. You're not decoding anymore. You're not recovering anymore. You're executing. You are now what they used to call uncontrollable. But the new word is worse. Inevitable. So while they're still stuck in rooms with charts and cables and trembling fingers, trying to model your behavior, you're already outside the frame. You're not the glitch. You're not the bug. You're the new standard. And when they finally understand that, their final report will read only 3 words. He warned us. But it won't matter, because by then, you'll be gone, not running, evolving again.